Hey everyone, this is Crumbs. This video's been in the making for a while. I've had a few things I was working on, a bunch of stuff in life, but figured finally get around to finishing it off. So I did the time-lapse real quick with the full thing built up. I'll have a quick time-lapse towards the end with the full building process, but I'll show you in creative how everything's actually set up. My goal is to come up with a really simple, easy to build thing that's basically unbreakable. It's modular, so you can expand it, you can add additional cubes to it, or you can make it longer if you want to AFK for longer and have larger storage. So I consider this basically a decent setup for the early game to mid game. It's I found it useful to stick in with a bunch of other farms I wanted to run. This way you can have something running. But since it is modular, you can build it out to be however large you want, and then harvest it manually. These are the materials I used in actually constructing the thing. Obviously, you only need fundamentally 2 water buckets, but I used a few. It's nice and easy. I used stained glass just along the sides. It doesn't really matter. In the old ones, I actually had ice at a level where you could hit the blocks on the sides. So it actually became an issue that I'd accidentally insta-mine some of the blocks I used that were decorative over there. Just be careful when you mine the stuff out not to hit the pistons. And these are the materials just to use to make the basic etho hopper clock with some sort of components inside. You harvest everything. This is an efficiency 3 silk touch pickaxe. That's all you need is efficiency 3 to instant mine the stuff. To be precise, 12 by 12 by 12. The basic cube. There's an additional layer, so it's about 12 by 12 by 13. But 12 by 12 by 12 is exactly a full shulker box or a full regular chest. If you add a bunch of additional sections up to 24 blocks, then it'll be 2 full shulker boxes or a double chest worth of ice that it stores, and a little more. Now I'll show the time lapse of me actually building this up in survival. I did initially have the plan just to build it like I did the other ones, where you only have a nice freezing tray on one side. While I was waiting for it to all work, I realized I was an idiot. I could use both sides, so you'll see that in there. And again, it is very simple, but I'll also go through and describe some of what's going on in my thinking and how to add sections to it or how to make it longer in creative later as well. So we got the farm here built up. So you can see the modularity, you can see the different components, you can see it functioning. And I'll walk through, explain how everything works. So I just run this thing off a simple etho hopper clock. It works, it's easy. You can adjust the timings if you want, based on the fill level of the hoppers. I have this view in here just for demonstration, so you can see it run more quickly. I think in my survival world, I have set it with 32 blocks, or 32 items of whatever sort. And it'll send a signal out every time this changes state. And I have a single pulse sent out by observers, go in each direction. So you can see the hopper clock sends out a signal. It goes down the redstone line. It hits a bunch of repeaters on 2 ticks. You need the first set of repeaters to be on 2 ticks. Or you can add in a repeater between somewhere in the line on 2 ticks. And then run the rest of them on 1. Then all the rest of the ones further up front can be on 1 because the 2-tick repeater will give you the delay you need, or give you the timing you need to actually activate the redstone torches properly. That goes from one side to the other just because it's easy to do the redstone that way. One thing you need to pay attention to is the pistons on the outside need to go after the pistons down in the bottom push the ice blocks up. Because if the pistons here on the end didn't go after the ones below, then you'd have ice blocks getting pushed up and sitting here. That would prevent the water below it from spawning, from generating. You'll see this in the time lapse, but there's just spots here to fill with water source blocks. You need to have a block on top, and then that'll allow it to refill the water from both sides. So that'll be a water block, usable as well, and that'll allow the water to fill in from both sides in case you get unlucky and have ice form somewhere immediately while it's being refilled. And if you want to make it modular and add sections, you can just leave the space in between in the middle like this for a water source block. And that'll allow it to fill in water on both sides there. You're also going to want to add in some additional blocks in between each module, just to make sure you're not losing any ice. Dropping it down below. That'll just to make it easy. So these pistons here get activated at the same time as this set of pistons here too. And I just have a slight additional delay before it goes up to these pistons here of repeaters on 3 ticks. The signal sends a signal up and through this chain here that goes all the way down to the end of these pistons here. For the next module, I just do exactly the same thing. There's 1 block gap here between the sets, and repeater on 3 ticks sends a signal up and down the rest of the chain for the next set. Now, in addition to adding additional modules, just going down the long way out here, you can add modules on the other side pretty easily. And again, I just have the same kind of thing. I have the exact same thing. Now this way, you send a redstone line out here. You have a full module built up. On this side, it's exactly the same, just the mirror image. First set of repeaters on 2 ticks, or you can add in a repeater somewhere on 2 ticks. Make those one to work. And then all the other repeaters in here can be on just 1 tick. So if you want to have everything set up this close to each other, you can actually run both sides, like the top part here on both sides from just one or the other. You can bring the signal from this side like I've done over here, repeater on 3 ticks and 2 before it feeds in, or you can bring one over from the other side here. If you want to separate them out a bit further, you need to actually bring it all the way out here and extend it up here, send the signal out. So you need to actually add in 2 spaces to get it far enough away. But if you're good with just running it off the one side, then you can bring them this close together here. And again, you'd probably want to add some blocks in here to prevent ice or or you from falling down between everything. So I only showed it extending out that direction a little bit, but you can also extend it out the other way easy enough. I have the redstone line sent out here, and again, same deal. This would be extended. You need to leave that for the water source block. Right. It would just be the same thing as on the side extended out this way. and all the everything beneath will be exactly the same. Everything above will be exactly the same. So you can fit them in relatively tight to each other. So if you want to start off just building one first, then add additional modules whenever you get the resources together. If you need a lot of ice, you can you just keep expanding it however much you want. So you can expand it just by adding additional modules. In this case, these are going to get pushed up 12 blocks wide all the way across. But you can also add additional sections in the middle here. So this would be the full section just by itself. And it consists of 48 redstone torches, 48 solid blocks, 36 pistons, and then 12 each redstone dust and repeaters for each section. And you can actually extend it longer by adding additional sections in the middle. Everything will still work out like exactly the same as it is now. I was initially using this size that just has 12 blocks long to get pushed up because I was only running it from one side. But since you have two sides, you can build this size and don't have to worry about it breaking because those pistons can only push ice blocks to here. Those pistons can only push ice blocks to here. If you build it any shorter than that, then the pistons will be pushing the ice blocks into each other and you can break something. But you can always just build it a bit longer. You can build up to twice as long. You can build 24 blocks across of this section here. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections now. You can add as many as 4 additional sections like this into here and expand it out, and it'll still be able to fill up the entire thing. So you can have 8 of these little sections down here. That would just depend on how much time you want to be able to AFK or how much time you have available to AFK. These ones that are 12 blocks wide seem to fill up in about 5 hours. So if you have an overnight time or time while you're at work, if you're away for 8 to 10 hours, you could expand that. Maybe add like 6 to the full 8 sections, depending on how much time you're going AFK for. So there are 2 main things I'm talking about here. One is that you can build multiple sections attached to each other. The main thing you gain from that is additional spaces for water to freeze. Because in each section, you only have 12 on one side, 12 on the other. So you only have 24 spots for blocks to freeze. If you add another module, that adds another 24 to 48, another module up to 64, and so on. So the main thing you get from adding additional entire sections is another 24 blocks in which you have water that can potentially form ice. The main thing you gain from adding additional sections like this and making it longer across is that you can AFK for longer and it'll store more blocks. So if some of you found that useful, I know it was really useful for me to have enough ice to like make boat pathways and other things like that. And it was really nice to have these in the early to mid game. Obviously, as we move later on, or if you're willing to take on a more complicated project, it's nice to be able to have something that will bring ice to the player and you harvest automatically. But it was really nice to have something like this, and I figured since I had an improved design and had some interesting ideas about how to use it in a modular fashion, I thought it would be cool to share. I did just build this up to test it out as a demonstration, and while doing so I figured out that, hey, why am I not adding pistons on the other side? And later occurred to me that it's modular also because you can add additional sections like in between to make it longer. So it was good to build up in survival. I'm not really using that kind of stuff anymore. I'm using something like this. This is I had to add all the slime blocks because snow layers would form in front of the observers while they're pushing the ice around. So I had some issues with this, but this is pretty good. This is what I'm using at the moment. It's got a lot more, even with the stuff covered over, it's got a lot of spaces ice can form. That's really is the main determining factor in the speed of how quickly an ice farm can generate ice. So this is what I'm using now, but I was definitely relied on stuff like this little thing back here for a good long while. So yeah, hope someone out there finds it useful, and y'all take care. Cheers.